Good afternoon and welcome to We Believe Digital Newsbreak. We are glad to have you joining us today, coming to you from 36 degrees overcast in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. But, you know, sometimes this is just the belly of the beast down here. And so we need the struggles going on and all the heat going on. So we'll welcome you back to the Newsbreak show, and so glad you're here. And we've got a special day today because I'm being joined by the one and only Mr. Socrates Garrett and his nephew Randall. And so I'd like to pass the baton right away to Mr. Garrett to share some things with you.
Thank you, Chris. And we're broadcasting live from right here in African American owned broadcasting studio. We're seeing all over the world. We're being seen all over the world. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, on Roku TV, and our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching us on Facebook, we want to share this program with your friends and families and send us some stars. We need to help monetize this program so we can bring you this critical conversation on a daily basis. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, we want you to hit the donate button. And so you can find this program again in over 139 countries and all over the world. So, Chris, I just wanted to let our viewers out there know that We Believe Digital is the premier African-American owned broadcasting studio. If you go to YouTube and you download our app, We Believe Digital Podcast, we sit right next to Showtime and Netflix. So we are the up-and-coming broadcast studio that's going to deal with the issues that are affecting African-Americans all over this country. If it happens to black folk, you can find it here on We Believe Digital. And so, Chris, I thank you for the opportunity to join you today on Newsbreak. I look forward to our conversation.
Of course, thank you. And you know, we used to be able to do this show together, but there's just so many competing priorities and things going on. So it's great to have you back. And alongside over here is Mr. Randall Garrett, who I just met a few days ago. Mr. Garrett's nephew. So let's hear it, Randall. How you doing today?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I never had it so good. We're glad to have you in the studio.
Appreciate it.
Have you ever been able to do anything like this before?
No, it's my first time.
Well, I never did either until Mr. Garrett introduced it all to me. I don't know, maybe we started doing this kind of show maybe, 10 months ago or something like that. But yeah, well, I hope you enjoy your time here and jump in on the conversation. We're going to Memphis, but we can't really go. We really can't go in person today. So, but we want to take you there. The funeral may still well be going on for Tyree Nichols, 29-year-old motorist, killed 3.5 weeks ago today on the 7th of January. Traffic stop that leads to a young man, a father of a 4-year-old son, avid skateboarder, nature photographer, within 100 yards of getting home from being out on a picture shoot, from getting home and gets pulled over and winds up dead 3 days later at the hands of the Memphis PD Scorpion Unit, special group of people that decided for whatever reason the man had no drugs, the man had no gun, the man ends up being dead 3 days later, to the point where his mother told the press that when she saw him in the hospital, he had been beaten so badly that he was unrecognizable to his own mother. Where do we turn next, Mr. Garrett? How does the brain comprehend this?
Well, you know, we've seen a lot of things. In Mississippi, especially in Tennessee, is just North Mississippi. Most people that I know live in Mississippi but work in Tennessee. And most of the great athletes that come down into Mississippi come out of Memphis, Tennessee. And so, it's real close to home. And it is happening too often and too many times, and it's happening every day. And so what I want to do, Chris, is I want to ask my nephew over there who lives in Memphis, Tennessee, what the hell is going on in Memphis? What is the city like? How is it made up? And what is a Scorpion unit, and how does it affect your daily life?
Well, the Scorpion unit doesn't affect my daily life, but but growing up in Memphis, whether it's the Scorpion unit or you just call them the police, it's not uncommon for you to run into brutality, and you don't have to be from certain areas. Just like Tyree Nichols, that neighborhood is a suburb neighborhood. That's not it's predominantly black, but it's still a middle class neighborhood. So it's not like other cases where somebody might be like a stop and frisk situation where they're doing in high risk areas. This is a suburb neighborhood, just like any other suburb in any place in the country. And police brutality, no matter if it's black or white or anything, police, to word it in a politically correct way, police have at times been overzealous. When you grow up in the city, they always tell you, the police will say it out their mouth, if you run, you're gonna get assaulted. If you make me run, if you make me chase you, you go into the hospital. I've heard several police say that. So, and I got family all over the country, and that's a sentiment that is universal. So it's not like that anybody hasn't heard of a situation like this before.
Well, how do you reconcile the fact that the guy was handcuffed and still got beat down by 5 African Americans, and how does it make you feel that this was done by black folk?
Well, Memphis is a black city, so all the police brutality I've seen mainly been by black people. There's a few whites sprinkled into the brutality, but usually if somebody's assaulting you in Memphis, it's somebody black, whether it's somebody off the street or somebody in the police department. I can't remember, what was the first part of your question?
Yeah, well, saying how do you reconcile that the guy's already handcuffed and
Yeah,
he's still getting beat down?
If you run, you go to the hospital. It don't matter if you're handcuffed. I've taken a rough ride. I remember they were talking about that with Freddie Gray when it happened to him. I've never heard the rough ride term before, but everybody's been in a rough ride before. You know what that is. So mine personally wasn't too much a rough ride. It was just a cold ride. It was raining. It was 30 degrees outside. My coat was somewhere else, and I was handcuffed, and windows came down, and so, and then that was after I got roughed up, and then before the second time I got roughed up when I got out. And so that it's commonplace. It's not something that I had to get older to find out that that's just not. It's not supposed to be normal. Usually when somebody passes like him, the first thing you say is, "I wonder why they killed him." But it's not even. You don't even question why he got beat up because your mind is already in that place. If he ran, you get beat up. Yeah, you question why did they take it that far? It looked like they took it a little bit overboard that time.
Chris, it's kind of amazing that we can accept that kind of behavior and normalize it in some way and expect to be treated that way is what I'm hearing. And that in itself, it provides you with low self-esteem and all of the things that contribute to criminal activity and things of that nature. So what are you seeing, Chris, with these kinds of activities, and how many of these events have you witnessed?
Up close and personal, I really haven't witnessed any. It's all through news accounts and video, but I'm sitting here listening to you guys talk, and I end up with the question, how much trauma can a people take? it's just layer after layer after incident after incident. Randall says it's just taken for granted. It's just, but I mean, there's an effect, there's an impact, and you just wonder how much. I wonder how do people just take this over and over and over and over, and that's what runs through my mind when you ask me that.
It's a terrible situation that what went on in Memphis, Tennessee, and I understand that Al Sharpton may be doing the eulogy today.
Yes.
And, national attention is now on Memphis, Tennessee. As Chris, I believe you've identified the number of cities that have protest marches that are going on throughout this country. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, by my last count, Washington, D.C., downtown Memphis now over the last weekend, they end up shutting down the bridge. I didn't notice if it was the North Bridge or the South Bridge.
It was the old bridge.
Was the old bridge to the south. Mm-hmm. So they started a protest in downtown, and they just migrated over to the old bridge.
Yeah, it's not that. It's right out. It's right by downtown. But I will say this though, I wasn't too worried about riots or protests that much. We're usually not a riot or protest city, and so up to the release of the video, I know a lot of media was kind of focused on rioting, and I don't think the city, that reflected what the city's mood was. First, they arrested them and charged them with murder before the video came out. I believe they delayed the video for that purpose. That's just my opinion.
Sure.
And then number two, like I tell the joke, but I'm actually serious. They will do better to focus on putting people outside the police house instead of focus on people riding or putting people outside business in a city like Memphis. Mm-hmm. Riding is, somebody breaking into a store, they breaking into a store to get some goods. I don't think they'll do it based on something like that.
Well, Memphis has a history. I mean, one of the worst riots of all time in the African-American community occurred in Memphis, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Where people were
that's King, though.
Actually opening fire and killing one another in Memphis, Tennessee. And, of course, we understand that Dr. Martin Luther King was gunned down and murdered in Memphis, Tennessee. So, Memphis does not have, a history that it could be proud of. And I understand that even though Memphis may be 85% black, I'm not sure what your population mix is there.
It's about 60. It's a little bit over 60-some%, 60 to 70% black.
65, 70% black. Mm-hmm. I understand you guys elected a white mayor in a black city, and so I can't reconcile what's going on in the minds of African Americans in Memphis, Tennessee. Why aren't they rioting? Why aren't they being more vocal?
We just have. I'm not to say that we're not vocal. I'm saying that the riot is not how we speak. There's a lot of people that's vocal. There's a lot of people in the community doing community development work. There's a lot of people that would channel their anger elsewhere. But I'm saying that's why I would say you might would want to put a guard outside the police house because they might channel their anger that way. If they didn't get charged. I'm saying that the riot or the protest is not usually the voice of the city. Every once in a while, like you did, they get somebody to block the bridge or something, but that's happened twice twice that I know of. And I'm 40, so it happened twice since I've been alive. Memphis just kind of speaks in different ways instead of like the protest or the riot. It's not really a mass protest city.
Yeah. And New York, they shut down last weekend. They shut down one of the subway hubs around Times Square because they're concerned about riots there. They had Boston, Los Angeles, Seattle, Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago, and I know I was asking you this morning. No Jackson. No Jackson. Here we are, 3 hours south of Memphis, and no marches, no visuals, no prayers, prayer gathering. I just that's why I say the belly of the beast, because there's so much things going on down here that it seemed like people have just gotten numb.
Chris, I see we're getting ready to go to a commercial break, but I really got to get into the attitude of this new generation. I'm hearing some things that's not settling well with me. African Americans today have succumbed to the standard of living that they're experiencing and the way that they're being treated. And they're like sheep now that's marching to slaughter. And they're doing it almost voluntarily. So when we come back after this break, I'd like to continue this conversation.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
And welcome back to We Believe Digital Newsbreak, live here in downtown Jackson. Chris Young with Mr. Socrates Garrett and Mr. Randall Garrett alongside. We're talking this through about Memphis, and why don't we just we have a 1-minute clip that we're gonna show at this point, and obviously for those that have concerns about that or whatever, it's your discretion to not view that, but we're going to begin in just a couple seconds playing just 1 minute of the I don't know, 7, 8, 9 minutes of video that has been released.
This is a man's murder, and this is how it started.
Damn, I didn't do anything. Hey, I didn't turn your around. All right.
Tyree Nichols is the man being arrested, the only man seemingly trying to calm the situation.
I think I tased you. Get on the ground. I know. One. Now. I'm tasing. All right. Okay, dude. Damn. Put your hands behind your back. Quick. Okay. Stop. I'm gonna knock. Hey, you guys are really doing a lot right now.
Bro, lay down.
I'm just trying to go home.
Lay down.
Man, if you don't lay down. Oh, I am on the ground. Put your hands on your stomach. I got it.
Spray.
Okay. Stop. I'm not doing it.
Tyree breaks free from police who've deployed pepper spray and a taser. A short distance away, they catch him again. He's wrestled to the ground.
Give me a hand.
You might get sprayed again.
A CCTV camera on a street lamppost captures the continuing assault with fists.
Okay, welcome back, and just seeing that 1 minute clip, and Randall, I mean, you live up there. You're just a touch bit closer to it than me and Mr. Garrett. What's that like for you watching that?
I kind of don't watch it, so when there's videos up there, I'm in and out of it. I haven't watched the whole clip because it, like I said, growing up in the city, you see a lot of if you are outside, is what the young people call it, I guess. You see a lot of violence anyway, and so I've got enough of mine, in my life, so I don't have to look at that. But like I said before, I'm gonna keep repeating it. It's nothing new, and you can put a camera on the street of any city in America, and you're gonna find something like that eventually. We can have this outrage every day if we wanted to, because there's probably that many videos of some people getting beat up. And I want to say this too. I used to employ people at the halfway house, and this was the feds. So the feds is not it's diverse. So I had some white folks that work for me too, doing construction out the feds, and they're coming from small counties and towns in Tennessee, and they got the same problem with the police that we do. I had a conversation with a white guy who was trying to discourage his son because he had just got the Fed for 10 years from being the police. He said, "Go to the Marines. I don't want you to be the police," because of the same issues. So it's really a poverty thing, a poor thing, especially if there's no other, if there are no minorities around. If it's if everybody looks the same, somebody has to be oppressed. Oppression is sadly a thing in this country, and so if there are no black people around, or no Asian people, or no Mexican people, or anything like that to oppress, then somebody's gonna get oppressed. And that proved that to me when I had those conversations with the white guys who was in the same penitentiary as black people and was coming up in the same conditions of poverty. Poverty is really the problem.
Well, Chris, I'm listening to my nephew, and his father is a prominent criminal defense attorney in Memphis, Tennessee, Attorney Coleman Garrett. And he and I have conversations all the time about criminal activity. And of course, he says that there are 3 real dangerous groups in America today. And he says that there are the criminals, there are the Christians, and there are the police. And he says that these 3 groups right here, you better keep your eye on these 3 groups of people, because the criminals are gang-related, and the police are gang-related, and I don't know why he put the Christians, but he says that. And so I think what we have here is a situation where Randall, 40-year-old African-American male living in Memphis, Tennessee, sees things a little bit differently than his 76-year-old uncle sees things. And I think that's got to do with the fact that our children have been integrated and we lost control of them, and they have become a part, in their minds, become a part of the society that actually oppresses them. And so when he says that oppression is going to be with you always, and if there are no white people in the community, then you will have oppression by blacks on blacks, it doesn't have to be that way. It was not that way when I came up as a young man. Blacks were united in their fight against evil, and we didn't have that. And the fact now that we have 5 African-American police officers that have beat down and murdered Tyree Nichols since outrage in a different way. In the Army, we call that friendly fire. And that's the worst kind of fire in the world, to be shot down, beat down by members of your own race. When I came through, when James Brown put out the song, "I'm Black and I'm Proud," and we had the fist salute every time we saw a brother. And we were wearing our afros and we were wearing our dashikis, and we were united in thought and concept and realized that we had a common enemy. Things have changed, and Randall is expressing that change in a way that gives me great concern, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I jump in there
You
for a
know
second?
that.
So, first of all, I agree with 75% of that. 75% of it. I think it doesn't have to be, but it is. It doesn't have to be in it something, but it is. And I believe that, if everybody was so united in your generation, then why did the professional black class move from these, what are now ghettos now? Because I don't really believe in white flight, because it wasn't the white flight that left that made these neighborhoods ghettos. It was the black flight. It was the black professionals, like my father, who brags about when he moved to the neighborhood that we moved it to, that he was the only black person in the neighborhood. He thinks that's a source of pride. So if y'all was walking around with dashikis and afros and saying black power and all that, why does he find so much pride living amongst a whole bunch of people who hate him? You see what I'm saying?
I do. That's an interesting question. I think that the reason that blacks fail for integration is because our grandparents, your grandfather, thought that there could be a better way of living, that we could move from the farms and the agricultural thing, and we could become mainstream and enjoy the American dream. So
Grave mistake.
He pushed us into society where we were now being trained by those that historically oppressed us. And so we pushed into integration there. And then we moved into middle class a little bit with affirmative action, et cetera, and then blacks started to forget exactly where they came from and what their legacy should have been.
But I don't think we forgot, because so I have a unique experience. When I first grew up, my neighborhood was white. And then by the time I got about junior high, it was black. But I remember what it was like when it was white. So I can't forget, because I got called niggas every day. And people, grown men, would drive past my house with Confederate flags and called me a nigga. And when I was a child. So I didn't forget. And then my father is my father, my mother is my mother, and they kind of racist too. So, they raise you a certain way. And then you gotta grow up and find out what it is for yourself. But I didn't forget. I think that y'all forgot. I think that y'all didn't get to see King's next legacy of what he was going toward on the economic side, on the cooperative economic side. I read the books, and it was like, why didn't we do this? I wasn't for the integration. And I'm for integration to make it federally legal, but in order for a community to be strong, you got to be strong with yourself first before you can go out and try to be strong somewhere else. We too spread apart now. So what I'm saying is the things that you're blaming on this generation, I believe is all on your generation. Your generation is the one put these seeds here, and now you seeing what grew, and now you don't like it, But I think this generation can not reverse, because you know what? I'm not going to be negative toward the generation, because y'all was working with what y'all was working with, and who could foresee the future. But in hindsight, it was a mistake for my father to be bragging about being the only black person in the neighborhood, and that leaves. Luckily, I was able to grow up, and I ain't had that mentality, but a lot of people still do. I'm a realtor. And so I got a lot of trades. So I've been in the car with black people looking for houses, and like, oh, there's too many black people in this neighborhood, because they see it as a source of decline when they see that. And so, I've seen white people do it. I've seen black people do it. I've seen investors come in. I had some Asian investors come in, and I'm driving around suburbs. Memphis is 70% black, so once we got somewhere, we get somewhere. The white folks will move somewhere, we'll follow them right on along. In about 2-3 years, that neighborhood black. So I'm driving the investor around, and he was like, he was straight up with it. It's a lot of black people there. They don't have any white suburbs around here. It's like, nah, boss, this is Memphis. You want to invest here, you invest in the black people.
Let me ask you, Randall, you started to say a minute ago you feel like your generation is going to be able to move the needle. Could you go into that? They can. We'll see. It's a lot of movements about buying the block, investing in your own community, buying black. Yes.
And that was automatic when my uncle was up, because you had to.
And then we got away from that. You feel it's coming back.
I feel that there are certain segments of black people that subscribe to that. there are other segments of black people that don't. Most people just live their life. Most people ain't thinking about day to day. You got to be really intentional to try to live that type of life. And most people just go to work and go to school and come home. You know, so I'm not calling anybody. I'm not being negative about it, like my uncle was about the generation earlier.
He's just being realistic.
Yeah,
And
right.
I didn't hear him saying, but he said he really trying to understand more. He's trying to understand. Well, you know, one thing as we start to race against the clock here, I heard early this morning that Kamala Harris was going to be at the at the Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church for the funeral this morning. Al Sharpton giving the eulogy, and I think a quote had come out early in the funeral that we are all Tyree, and it just gets you going. This is just unthinkable. I saw a New York Times analysis. For 13 minutes, they got a hold of the body cam or the image, the video or whatever. They said that young man, Tyree Nichols, was given 71 commands by these various police officers over 13 minutes, and dozens of those commands were contradictory and unachievable. Couldn't do what they were telling him. So, you know, just hog wild, nothing near professionalism. And I remember Sherilyn, Memphis Police. Do you know this Sherilyn Davis, the police chief in Memphis?
I don't know her, but she's a police chief. Yeah.
She seemed very nice. I'd like to meet her one day. But she said she said that in her press conference, one of the things she said that really stuck with me was that the things that were done, the behavior of these officers, is the exact opposite of the oath that they took. And that really sticks with me. I guess it's the military in me, like with Mr. Garrett. You know, you know about an oath and the importance of it.
I sure do, Chris. We were all trained in the Army. We were trained killers at that time because we were all in the Vietnam War and things of that nature. And so, you know, America has got some real issues. It's Memphis today. It'll be Jackson, Mississippi, on the next occasion. And we are seeing an assault by the police department on African-American youth like we've never seen before. And at the same time, we're experiencing more murders by African-Americans on African-Americans than we've ever seen before. So we better be alert. These juvenile warriors that are out here every day are not going to stand by and allow this kind of behavior and this kind of beat down to continue to run rampant in our communities. These child soldiers are real, and I think we better pay attention to what's going on, and I think the police department better pay attention. We're going to have some serious issues in this society.
That's going to be a wrap there. A good way to end, and I thank both you gentlemen for being here today and having this dialogue. We hope the listeners can take something away from this, and we'll come back and look at other programming that we have on We Believe Digital, WeBelieveDigital.com. You can see us there. You can see us Facebook, YouTube, and we're just trying to constantly bring you new content. We've got a pack of young, energetic, can-do attitude studio producers and all, and we're just trying to elevate this platform and give you what you want when you want it, just the way you want it, real and unfiltered. And we hope you have a great day out there and stay safe.